What's up, everyone? We are in week 3 of our series called Even If, where we're looking at characters from the Old Testament, learning from their faith and how we can grow from it. So let's dive in. Today we're answering one of the biggest questions that the world has. Why do bad things happen? If you look around this world, it doesn't take long for you to see all the hurt and wonder, God, where are you in all of this?
There are so many hard things in the world. There's natural disasters, there's sin, there's people doing terrible things, people die of cancer every day. So many times I've looked around in the world and said, God, why do you allow this to happen? If you're an all good God, why am I struggling with this? Why do I see this happening in the world around me?
Today we want to introduce you to a character in the Bible known as Job. Now, you come to find out that Job had it all. He had an incredible reputation. He had enough money that he knew what to do with. He had everything, an incredible family, and a great relationship with God. It says that he was holy and blameless. There was no one like Job in the land. And we come to find out that nothing bad ever happened to Job. If you know the story, you know that Satan basically approaches God and says, hey, he is holy and blameless because everything in his life has always been easy.
I know this has been true in my own life too. When everything is going so well and so easy, my life is great, it's really easy to follow God. My junior year in high school, I was in Christian clubs, I helped start an FCA, I was a junior high counselor, and everything was going perfect. But the next year, I lost some friends, my parents separated, my youth pastor left the church. There's so many bad things that happened, and all of a sudden my faith was shooken because of it. I don't know if you've ever been there, where you go to Hume one summer and it's like life is great, and as soon as you come down from the mountain, suddenly something really hard happens and you're like, I don't feel God the same way as I did then because of your situation. Following God is easy when all we see in the world around us is good. But when we start seeing the bad, maybe it's more difficult.
And that's where we pick up the story of Job. Job is basically just a story about testing the sincerity of his faith. When everything was going so easy, he had such a great relationship with God, but what happened when things took a turn for Job? Within the first couple chapters of this story, we see that Job got everything taken away from him. He got his family taken away from him, his livestock, his wealth. In chapter 3, we read Job crying out to God, basically saying he wished he had never been born. What had happened to him causes him to totally break and question God, who is God in his life. And the big question that Job wants answered from God is, why? Why me? Why my family? Why did this even happen?
Take a moment and just stop. Have you ever found yourself in that position? Think about a time in your life and you're like, I just don't know if I can trust in God because everything seems to be going wrong, or because the world is really, really just ugly. And you think, God, how could you allow this? How is that possible?
And the reality is there's only one who actually knows why. The book of Job is basically a conversation with Job and his closest friends, and they're trying to come up with their best guesses of why this is happening to Job. How could God possibly allow what Job went through to happen? And after they come up with their best guesses, God chooses to respond to Job when he said this: "Who is this that obscures my plans with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man, I will question you and you shall answer me. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? On what were its footings set? Or who laid its cornerstone?" The book of Job answers the question, why do bad things happen? And I love the confidence that Job shows when he says this: I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end, he will stand on the earth. So after all that, after the conversation with his friends, after the response that we get from God, what is the answer to this question, why do bad things happen? Well, I hate to be the one to break it to you, but we don't know the answer. But what we do know is the one who does know the answer is in control.
What we can learn from Job is this: even if our circumstances aren't ideal, even when we see hurt in the world around us, we know that God is in control and he has a plan for us that is good. We read this in Romans. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Now, that word good is hard to define. God knows what's good for you. Sometimes we might not see it, and we might not see good in the world, but He does. Guys, this is really important. I don't want you to just turn a blind eye to the hurt in the world and the hurt in your own life and just think, oh, God is good, and just pretend it's not happening. Instead, you should look at it head on, see that it's happening, and then work your faith through it. Because I promise you, God will persevere. God will prove Himself to you and show you His plans through it all. And it takes that step of faith to actually look at it.
And I encourage you, like Ashley said, don't ignore the hurt in the world. Instead, you can talk about it with your friends, talk about it with your small group leader. Ashley and I are here for you as well. Don't allow your faith to be shaken by this, but allow your faith to grow in spite of your circumstances. So we may not have all the answers. And that might be really frustrating because I know how desperately all of us want to know why. But we can fully trust in the one who does have all the answers, who says that the plans for our life is plans to give us a hope and a future, and plans where we can trust Him even in the midst of our circumstances that we're going through. Even if bad things happen, we can trust in the one who has all the answers and whose plans for us are good because God is good.